Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Heidi Horsley, and I'm here today with my guest, Dr. Sweta Vikram, and we are going to be talking today about the new normal, life after loss. Something that we both know a lot about, and I'm looking forward to talking to Sweta about this. Let me introduce her first. Dr. Sweta Vikram lost her father and father-in-law within 2 days of each other, and her mother 9 years earlier. She is an international speaker and the best-selling author of 14 books. Sweta's latest book is The Loss That Binds Us, 108 Tips on Coping with Grief and Loss, and she was voted as one of the most influential Asians of our time, and the winner of the Voice of the Year Award. So welcome, Sweta.
Thank you so much, Heidi. It's so lovely to be here. And the reason I am carrying a copy of both of these books, so I wrote Saris and a Single Malt after my mom passed away, and The Loss That Binds Us is a grief manual that I wrote after my dad and father-in-law passed away. So tomorrow happens to be my parents' 55th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow.
And what are the odds? And I was just thinking about it this day. They would be so proud and happy that this interview is happening, but it's also such a way important day and moment and reason. I think we need to talk about grief, period, but to also honor and acknowledge them. And it's such a gift and a privilege for those of us who have chosen to talk about grief, because I don't think it ever goes away. But I think it makes the healing healthier. You're not attaching yourself to external circumstances or things or substances to go through this difficult process. So I'm so honored that I'm sharing this moment with you here today and being able to celebrate their 55th anniversary wherever they are. I hope they are celebrating it too.
That is amazing. And your father has been gone for how long?
2 years now.
2 years, you said, and your father-in-law has been gone for
2
2
years.
Can you tell us a little bit about your story? I know you lost your mother 9 years ago.
Right. So now 11, because it's so strange. April 2023, went to India, met both the fathers. Everything was okay. May we get a call, my dad is not well. And I said to the doctor, I've just come back and I'm going to be back in August for his birthday. And so is that okay? And she's like, I can give you 3 days.
Wow.
It was that traumatic and instant. And
So you had no idea?
We had no idea. And
Wow.
then my in-laws were on vacation, and they came back, and my mom-in-law was like, my father-in-law is not well. So, it's a herniated disc. He's a man in his 70s, or
Yeah.
was a man in his 70s. So you're not thinking too much about a herniated disc. But by the time we land in India and we go to my mom-in-law's place, she's like, oh, he's in the ICU. Like, what do you mean he's in the ICU? And so we were like, we want to go see him. She was like, no. He's going to know something is wrong with my dad if we show up, because we'd just seen him a month ago.
Right.
So, yeah, and then we take an Uber, go to the city, and so my dad and my father, my in-laws, lived. It's so strange to still use past tense, right? 3 hours from each other. So we Ubered, we get to the hospital, and I look at my dad, and in that moment, like, he gives me his wallet. He's like, I cannot be trusted. Because so the doctor said, I'll put him on general ventilator for a few hours, just so we can keep him alive until you reach. And so you start to hallucinate. These are things there was no reason to know. Right? And even in that moment, he's like, I can only trust you. And he was a very generous man. So I'm like, what, are you just giving away money? He said, yeah, pretty much that.
Wow.
So he gives me the wallet, and in that moment it hit me, oh, I'm losing my anchor. He was the one I would have turned to for anything. And, I'm an adjunct professor, we've talked about, we both teach.
Yeah.
And when the semester ends, I want to do a solo trip somewhere, where I'm not taking care of anybody. I love, and I'm so grateful for the life that I have. But I'll also say, like, the way I can recharge is just taking the time for myself.
Yeah.
But I don't have a place like that any longer.
So to recharge, you would go and see your father?
I would go see my dad.
Wow.
It was incredible because, he and I were so similar. We were also arguing half the time, but the love was so immense, the respect.
Yeah.
And he was a very progressive man. He was so not like the traditional Indian fathers you would hear about, like become a doctor. He was more about, you need to get good grades so you can go to college, so you can get a job, and you're financially independent. See, the narrative was so different versus how can you not be a doctor, what will people say? right? So,
Yeah.
and he was like, X% of your income should always go to those less fortunate than you.
Wow.
Happiness is an inside job, so don't rely on others. Like, get these
I love
habits in
this.
place. Yeah, so
I loved all his, pearls of wisdom.
yeah, and and in my book, The Loss That Binds Us, I talk a lot about what I miss, but also what this grief process has been. But it's also these nuggets of wisdom, like, where do I turn to?
Right.
And given the work that we all do, people turn to us for that healing and wisdom. Where do I go? And I say this to my husband, like, it's almost like my recharge station is gone.
Wow.
And I've lost that connection forever. So now I do solo trips once the semester ends to a place which is nearby where it's not like I don't like to fly. I was like, I want it to be easy. A place, where I can go, I have at least a friend or a cousin, so I can meet them for a meal, but I love walking, going to bookstores, Buddhist temples, like exploring new restaurants. I was like, I can never recapture what I had with Dad.
Right.
Sometimes I would just sit on my laptop, he would be watching TV. But it was so safe.
So just being there. It was
just being
comfortable, it
there.
was safe, he was your anchor.
It was unconditional love. Even if we had, I think, what's the fear most of us have? I shouldn't say this, they won't like me. I shouldn't say this, I will get cancelled. I shouldn't say this, I don't know what they'll think.
Yeah.
Imagine to not have any of that weight in a relationship.
That's pretty unique.
Really.
Not to have judgment and just to have unconditional positive regard and just to have someone
And
there
even
to
if he
support you.
did, Heidi, it was okay. Like, even
Yeah.
if he said something, I used to call him out on his BS, he would call me out on mine. And he would tell me, I wish you didn't do these things. And it wasn't like, how dare you?
Yeah.
I wish. I was like, oh, let me think about what I could change. And then I would tell him, I think maybe you could have handled this better. You did the best knowing. So that language that we used with each other. I'll give you an example. He was such a progressive man. The reason I keep saying that is because, one of my nieces, who now my brother's daughter, she works. When she was a kid, so my dad would like tease her, oh, get married. What if I'm gone? I won't get to meet your husband. She was like, and she's straight, but she was like, but what if I want to marry a woman? How can you say that? And he's like, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't know this growing. We didn't know this. So, yeah, so like,
he was open.
He was very, very open. And I think we all, and I was talking to her, and she was like, that's what we all miss, that safe space where you could show up and say, I really messed up. And first thing would be, how can I help you? And I'm sure you had a reason. So it's not like, how dare you? People lie when they fear being judged. To have had that relationship or that space where it wasn't just me, Heidi, even my husband or my brother's wife. Nieces, yes, I can get, but our partners were very close to my dad.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So the title of the show is The New Normal Life After Loss, and you gave that to me, and I really love it. And I guess I would want to know, given this foundation with your father, what does a new normal look like, and what does that mean for people that have had loss and have lost these important people in their lives?
So I think one of the things has been realizing, or accepting rather. Realization came earlier. As soon as we lose a loved one, everything has changed. But you don't know what exactly has changed. Yes, in terms of cerebral knowledge, this person is deceased now. But like, what that changes is, I knew he was my anchor, and I'll always be a little bit untethered now.
Yeah.
I'm in a happy, knock on wood, healthy marriage, have really good friends. I have like bunch of family that I'm close to, and I don't care about being close to everyone. That's the other thing I've learned. You cannot be there 100% for everyone, but the people who are your people, be there 500%.
Yeah.
So that anchor has also come from shrinking my inner circle and pouring more into them. So I feel like my roots of relationships are well nourished now. But if you have 500 people, you're pouring very little.
Right.
Those are very
Exactly.
transient, shaky roots. And I think people don't get that until they've gone through loss that transforms them. So I was like, I can't be bouncing off of walls. I can't always be 100% untethered.
Right.
So I need to make my roots strong. And roots is home where I live. It's sacred. Roots are my friends, my cousins, my marriage, my brother, like the people
Yes.
who matter. And even my husband's cousins, some of them I'm really close to. So just recognizing the people I feel at home with.
Yeah, I love this.
and also finding the home within. That was a struggle for me because, like I shared, I can't go. When I went back to India last year, it felt like a foreign country, which is so terrible.
Because
right?
your father wasn't there?
It's not there. There are people who look like him,
Yeah.
but he's not there.
Right.
When I had to fill out the immigration form when I landed in Mumbai, for the first time in 25 plus years, I didn't have an address memorized.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I pick out, like all this year's life in New York, I've told myself I can't call him. But when I land in India, my instinct is I need to call him.
Right.
And that doesn't exist for me anymore. So it's very untethering. So it's just finding what roots you, what grounds you. Because grief, even though it's heavy, it's not anchoring.
Right.
It's almost like termite that eats at the foundation. So you have to find that spiritual, energetic, and cleansing people, things that you enjoy doing, and also really making time for joy. People think grief is sitting in a corner and crying. It's so much more than that. Yes, we all have those bad days, or even if it's not a bad day, it could be a moment that I shared with you right now saying it's the anniversary and I might get misty-eyed, but that's also grief. It's just knowing what a privilege it was to love, but you'll never be able to say that again. You'll never be able to hug them. And that absence is permanent.
Right. So how did you first start on the path to finding joy? I mean, how did you start creating your new normal?
So I have to be honest, when people would tell me, your father would like this, I used to get so upset. I mean, I wouldn't say anything, but I would be like, don't tell me what my father would like.
Right.
I knew what he would have liked. And he would have liked for me to be honest.
I like that.
Right? So I sat in that honesty. I'm really lucky and blessed, and I don't use the word lucky often, is because I have my dad's genes. He was just a joyous person.
Yeah.
He was fun to be around. He walked into a room lit up. So for me, that was natural, right? So I learned from him how to create these moments of joy. And when people think joy, they're thinking, oh, I need to bloom like a daffodil. No. It's just when you wake up, do you have gratitude? That's joy. Can you acknowledge the good in your life? That's joy. Are you breathing? That's joy. So instead of asking myself what I wanted to do, it's habits over motivation. Keeping my workout clothes, my yoga mat, this sacred time with my husband in the morning, meaningful connections with X number of people during the day. To me, that was joy. Other things are extenuating circumstances. If it rains, dinner plans might get cancelled.
Right.
You have tickets to a Broadway show, something goes wrong, subways you don't reach on time. So it became more of an internal practice. So everything else was a bonus. Everything that I did to find joy was more internal. Like those, sometimes the other thing I did was sort of reworking my expectations of people. That's been a big thing in finding that new normal, because my parents were the kind of people who always over-delivered. So my brother and I are kind of the people who over-deliver in relationships. We have big hearts, and it's not because we are better than others. That's what we've seen growing up.
You just are comfortable giving and supporting other people, right?
Versus receiving.
Yes.
And a friend said that to me, you need to learn how to receive. You can't just keep giving. It's also uncomfortable for some people. And I said to her, you're one of the first few people who's told me, because I've realized most people are comfortable taking. And it's not their fault if I've always over-delivered. So I think for me to scale back my expectations from others, I had to scale back on how much I was pouring into so many relationships. And it was like really taking a hard look at myself. Like, so much of the misery comes from us not taking charge of our lives.
Right.
Dad is gone. That safe space is gone. That unconditional love is gone. I can always have a little bit of sadness for it, but I also have to move on. And no one else owes me anything. When I said that, at the same time I told myself in my new normal, I don't owe them anything either.
Right.
Right? So it's the people you have, they're there for you and you're there for them because it feels beautiful. It's not because I do this and you do that.
So you just started to move on like one step at a time through yoga and through, how did you first?
A lot of reflections.
Okay.
Yeah, yoga definitely. but it's also, the part of the world of spirituality, real world spirituality for all of us are people who are professionals. I don't have 5 hours in a day to meditate. But like even talking to my friends who are in similar, we at that stage of life, you are losing loved ones, especially parents, right?
Right.
Having these conversations with them, but then also realizing so much of it was reflection, as in, I don't want to be like that person. And maybe something in me is like that. What we don't like in others is oftentimes a reflection of what we don't like in ourselves. We just don't realize. So holding a mirror closest to myself instead of others. Earlier, the onus was on others. They didn't do this for me.
Right. You expected them to be better grief support or good, and some didn't show up in that way.
They didn't. And also the experience, and I can't imagine my story is unique, multiple losses.
Yeah.
When you lose one parent, others will still show up because your dad or your mother, whoever is alive, the other parent is still alive. So you still see what social decorum, accepted decorum looks like. But when you lose both, for some people it's like, okay then. I was connected to her parents, that generation. Some people are just terrible around grief. The older people, they might be thinking of their mortality.
Yeah.
And in many cases, I was like my dad's daughter, like I love fun, I laugh easily. So when I was going through that phase where I couldn't find that joy, many people didn't know what to do because I was no longer brightening their life. And that's a very self-centered way of seeing. But I'm like, to each their own. That anger is only hurting me. It's a cliche, but so true. Anger is like holding that hot coal in your hands and expecting the other person's hands to burn.
So they were expecting you to show up in the way that you had before your father died.
Yes.
And you were like, okay, I'm trying to create my new normal. And I'm wondering, was it different when your mother died? Because I know she died 9 years before your father, right? Was the experience different?
Very different.
Okay.
I was way younger, right? And that was the first close death that I'd experienced. And it shook. Both the deaths were unexpected. So, and I didn't get to say goodbye to Mom. By the time the doctors were with her, I was on a flight, or my husband and I were on our way to India. She died when we were midair.
Why did she die?
Her system just shut down. They were on their way to vacation.
Wow.
And she was like, I don't feel well. And my dad had his instincts. He's like, I'm taking you to the emergency room. And her system just started to shut.
Wow.
And my mom, and women and the intuition are so incredible, Heidi. My mom had said this to me in passing. And in our family, my parents and brother and I, we have talked very openly about death.
That's amazing. Most families don't do that.
They don't. And, they don't realize how messy it is for those left behind.
Yeah.
And even when my parents had something in passing, Mom more than Dad, somewhere I had stored that. She had said to me, the minute it's time for me to go on a ventilator, I'm not going to make it because I refuse to live like a vegetable. I don't know when she said it.
Yeah.
I remember. And the minute the doctor said we need to put her on a ventilator, she was gone.
Wow.
And she had said to me, I don't think I'll be here for our 50th wedding anniversary. So I want a 45th wedding anniversary to be a big thing. She didn't even get that. She died before the 44th. So it's like women have this intuition, and I wish more people would hold space for it.
Yeah. Because I would imagine people shut that down. They don't want to hear that.
Yeah, they do, because, it's negative stuff.
Yes.
No, it's someone is saying something. Can we just honor that for 2 minutes and move on? One of my yoga or meditation teachers, like 2 decades ago, had said this to me, and I could be messing up the numbers. She's like, it takes 90 seconds to acknowledge a thought and a few minutes to fight it.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard it takes more energy to have negative emotions than positive emotions also.
Wow. Yeah, but that just
Which
makes
is similar
sense.
to what you're saying, yeah.
So if someone is saying something, if you're sharing a story, what does it take to hold space for 30 seconds?
Right.
That person, and the fact that my mom felt heard when she was saying, I remembered. It's something that I shared with my dad, I shared with my, brother, I shared with my husband. And I was like, or even when my dad would say, this is not something that I would want towards the end. He was like, dignity is important to me. I shared that with my brother. I said, he would not be. We can keep him alive for ourselves in a way, but he wouldn't want that. And I don't think either of us is selfish in that sense.
Right.
It's going to be hard, but it's about him, not us. So I think the big difference was when Mom died, everything was about me. How could you do this to me?
Okay.
How could you not wait for me? How can you leave dad alone, right? At this
You
time,
felt abandoned.
I felt very abandoned.
And she had abandoned the family.
Yeah, as if poor thing, as if it was her fault. And it was also so
It was just
traumatic.
a normal thought.
Yeah.
When my brother died, I felt like that also. I felt like
I'm
how
so sorry.
you left us in a grieving family. I'm 20 years old. I don't want to be in a grieving family. This
Right.
isn't what I signed up for. It was out of the life plan. You know, I thought there was a nice, neat stage. The grandparents die, and then, you know, your parents. I mean, there was a way.
There's a
and like you said-
hierarchy.
yes, and we're ready for it, and that's not the way it is. I know your father was your anchor. What was your mother?
So my mother, you know, we were very different people. She was more old school. And so it's interesting. In this book, saris and a single mall.
I love the name
her.
of that.
And that's her.
Oh, that's her photo?
Yeah, she's a beautiful woman.
Wonderful, she is.
You know, one of her pictures from the
Gorgeous.
younger days. So she was that woman who drank her whiskey and wore a sari.
Yeah.
So full of contradictions. And, you know, as I grew older, I realized we all carry our own trauma and baggages,
Yes.
right? She was trying to keep me safe. I'm like my dad's daughter. I'm outspoken. I have very low tolerance for BS. Living authentically is very important to me. And he always said respect has to be earned. Kindness you share automatically, but respect has to be earned. Coming from the culture I come from, you just are expected to deliver respect. I don't believe in that. Doesn't mean I will ever be
Right.
unkind, but you have to earn that.
Yeah.
And she would always wonder, how would that work out with my future in-laws, with people like that?
Yeah.
You know, and there's a point where, you know, my mom-in-law, she calls me before she calls her own son,
Wow.
because she realizes I am there. I'm solid, I'm reliable.
Yeah.
But I will not tell stories to be liked or loved. And I think that confidence came from dad. Own your light, own your story. If those who don't like, they'll walk away. Those
Yeah.
who are your people, they'll stay. Mom was different. You know, she wanted people to like her. And she was such an incredible cook. Like she, in the 80s, she had a pasta maker at home. Like she was one of those
Wow,
people.
that's amazing.
Yeah, and so she expressed her love through food.
Yeah.
And I used to tell her, a lot of these people are abusing your niceness. And so, because I was direct, it scared her. It scared her that I saw things as a child which most adults didn't.
Yeah.
But I think it was so fun. The last time I saw her, and then I was supposed to go back, and she passed away. And she said to me, I love the work that you're doing. She had never said that to me. She was always
Wow.
scared, like someone would hurt me. Like it would have been easier if I'd become like this mellow Indian doctor, listening to everyone, you know, doing my things, acting manipulative and living my life. I was just I was an antidote to everything, right? Or, but she said, I'm so glad you do the work that you do because it's very required. And I've always thought about that. Again, was that her intuition that she would never get to say that to me?
And tell me what that means.
So, you know, I write a lot about gender bias and patriarchy, but even in terms of grief, what happens when there's a loss?
Yeah.
You know, women who have kids, they're taking care of the children, the men aren't. You know, when in Indian families, and I've attended a few end of life events at my Jewish friends as well, they're big groups of people. Right?
Yeah.
And so there's food to be organized. Sometimes people bring in, sometimes people are visiting. Men again, I'm not stereotyping, but for the most part, will ask, did you eat? Who really asked, did you eat? Did you sleep? Have you taken care of yourself? Did you take the meds? It's the women, right? So that's what
Well, and they're often preparing the food so that everybody can eat.
exactly. So that means they're putting the grief
Yeah.
on the shelf for a tomorrow. 78% of autoimmune cases happen to women.
Wow.
And
78%.
78%.
This is interesting.
Right? And autoimmune diseases very often are related to repressed emotions.
Okay.
So this is the conversation where she and I were happening. It wasn't about, yes, there are other women who work about equal pay. That's very important to me. But I was talking about life, the authentic life
Right.
that women across cultures are not allowed to lead. Even I distinctly remember, like, you know, even when my mom passed away, we had like this food, people were visiting, and some people had just left the plate under the chair. It was really hot. It was May, really hot. And, you know, things start to smell. Because in
Yeah.
India, you know, it's labor is a lot more affordable, accessible, right? So I had someone coming in to clean every 2 hours, literally. But it was my thinking, right, as the woman. But it's also people are leaving that behind, or they would hand me their plate, and I'm like, can you not walk?
Right.
You're not handing that to my brother or my husband.
This is interesting.
It's my sister-in-law or me.
Yeah.
And me more because I'm the daughter. So I don't mind doing things. But this stereotype, this conditioning, this toxicity that a woman is here to serve, even during her grief.
And it sounds like there's the expectation that a woman will suppress anger and rage and negative emotion.
Absolutely.
And be sweet and positive all the time.
Yes, because an angry woman scares people. And my conversation, I used to tell my mom, like, if women were allowed to express themselves on a daily basis, we won't just explode. Because a woman who raises a voice, well, they're not a good role model. A woman who doesn't speak, too meek. You know, a woman who doesn't take care, you just don't know how to take care of yourself. How can you take care of a family? A woman who goes to work, you're so selfish. How can you abandon your family?
Is it changing?
It is in measure, and I think I used to think, oh, this happens in this part of the world. It's as bad as it is here as well. Like my friends, some of them who are third generation, fourth generation, similar experiences, not the same, similar experiences, because patriarchy is not left home.
Yeah.
Women were just about allowed to vote. Women were just allowed to have a bank account and things like that. So it's not that long ago. So I think the world is changing, but I really believe the conversations at homes have to change.
Okay, so on this note, I think this is so important, and it just reconfirms how people really need to take care of themselves after loss. And I want you to tell people where they can get your books to learn more about this and to learn more about the tips with coping with grief. And this book is about your mother, right?
Yes.
And her journey, or?
So it was more of from the time we got the phone call that she was in the hospital to the time she passed away.
Okay.
I wrote it inside of under a week.
Wow.
It was all the emotions that were coming up as we did every rite and ritual.
Yes.
And I couldn't edit that book.
Okay, so where do people get these books?
Amazon would be the easiest, I would say. I mean, some bookstores, but Amazon oftentimes is, or Barnes & Noble online. And I also wanted to share, if you go to my website, you'll find it.
Where is your website, Sweta?
Oh yeah, I should say that. It's my first name, last name, so www.swetavikram.com.
Okay, and we're gonna wrap up, so please go and get her books. Thank you so much for being here today. And we like to say, if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for joining.